Hey, we are back. I can't believe we're once again getting lots of questions, and internally at KoreConX, having so many different members in different locations around the world, even in different parts of our business. It's exciting to see that they have questions from day to day, and hopefully you all enjoyed the first session. Dr. Garimella and I went at it. I think we could have gone longer that day, but we needed to cut it short. We only made it 42 minutes long. I think we could have probably spoken another 8, 9 hours in that subject matter. But today we have one of our newest member to our team. So obviously she's always going to be full of questions, and she's based in San Diego. She is one of our specialists, and she is obviously working with our clients on a daily basis, onboarding them. So obviously she is going to get the first set of questions that are obviously people are asking, and we hope that we can answer them today. So Lily, welcome.
Hi, thanks, Oscar. So one question I do get a lot is what are digital securities and how do they work?
Well, that's a big one. So, too bad I didn't have Dr. Garimella to be here to kind of how it all works. But do you know the term digital securities? The other term other people are constantly saying is tokenization, and we're all caught up in these big buzz terminologies. And so I'm going to separate it into two parts. So part number one, securities. So securities meaning that this is a regulation that you're using in order to raise capital. And in order to do so, that regulation will have all these different elements that you need to follow. So let's take one in particular. Let's take regulation A plus as an example of that. So this regulation says that the company can raise up to $50 million. It needs to do a filing with regulators. The investor can be non-accredited. It's got limits. The company can offer voting, non-voting. It can offer dividend, revenue share. So these are all the regulatory elements that go into the security. The company can pick and choose what it wants, and then it's got additional ongoing reporting. So people go, well, Oscar, that's what we have today. That is true. So what happens in the traditional way when you take that security? People get a representation of that ownership in two ways. One, the subscription agreement. The subscription agreement, if anybody's ever read one, they're very lengthy. They're like, they can be as long as 100 pages sometimes, but typically in the first 5, it tells you all the terms you agreed to, how much money you're investing, what the price is per the unit, share, what you're purchasing in, how much total investment, who you are, and all the different attributes that are related to it. And the rest are the legalese, your rights, and so on. And then what you do, you sign that, the company signs it, you got a copy of the official document, and then the company gives you a certificate. So what does that certificate have? It'll just have your name on it. It'll say what the name of the number of the certificate. It will have a total amount that you invested. So let's say you invested $10,000 and you get 10,000 shares. So it will have that, and then there'll be 2 signatures at the bottom, one of the chairman of the company and another one of the CEO of the company, and then of course the company's name. And that's it. So this is the traditional way, and now the investor gets a copy of that, right? So that's been traditionally what they get. And now they take that, and let's hope they stored it somewhere where they can remember, right? So they've invested $10,000, they get this in return, and the rest is in their head. I invested $10,000 in this company, and I have this paper that tells me everything about my investment and what I can and cannot do with it. But so you store it, and hopefully you stored it somewhere where you might remember. What if you do this, you're investing $10,000 every 2 weeks or every month, and so it can add up, right? So it's an issue. So that's traditionally. So digital securities. So digital securities takes all of that information that is so important to the investor and puts it in a form, and we'll get into that because I really don't want to make this about technology kind of discussion, but it puts it in a form, an immutable form, so which means that it can't be overwritten, it can't be deleted, it cannot be destroyed or anything like that, an immutable form. So that's a very powerful investor protection. This is what I invested. I invested $10,000, and when I view that information based on the application that I've been given access to view it, it tells me everything I want, and it's given to me in such a way that I don't have to go through 130 pages. And that power of, getting it, the traditional versus digital is transformative. Why? Because the traditional way is the following. The day the investor invests, everything's happy. I'm happy I made a $10,000 investment. I got a share certificate. Yay. 6 months down the line. The investor is now curious. What can I do? So instead of reading the documents, what do? They have nowhere to log in. They just know they made an investment in this company. So what do? They'll email the CFO or the CEO and say, "Hi, I invested in your company a while back. So listen, what can I do with my shares? Can I sell them? Can I trade them? Is there, what's going on? What's the value? What's this?" So basically now the CEO and the CFO need to take time away from their day to be able to answer that question. And so imagine for a moment in Reg A Plus, where you have 15,000 people making that request. And not saying they're all going to do it at once, but 15,000 do that. And let's say 30% of that, 30% of them say, "You know what? I heard that I could actually transfer these to my wife or to my cousin or to my grandparent or to my parents. So where do I go to do that?" So you can imagine that all of this it becomes, wow, how do I service that from a company point of view? How do I get that messaging? And so it then becomes cost prohibitive, right? And so now digital securities. So this is traditionally how it's been happening. Digital securities. Digital securities, the client, the investor, the shareholder of the company has been given access to log in, to view their portfolio investment in this particular company. And when they look at that investment, they're seeing the details of that investment. How much money they invested, on what day, how they paid, what they got in return, how many shares they own, what they can do with it. Can they vote, non-vote? Can they transfer? Can they trade? And giving them the power to do all of that directly there without ever interfering with the day-to-day activities of the company. Yet, at the same time, it's automatically updating the cap table of the company. Now, I'm simplifying the process. There's other steps, regulatory steps like transfer, but the point is all of that is done in a digital manner. So, but what's really the key to it, as I said earlier, is that immutable form. That immutable form comes using a permission-based blockchain technology that provides that layer that the average shareholder will never see, but will trust that information is there to be able to rely on, that this is the ownership they have. For the company, the power of providing an immutable ownership to an investor is powerful. Number two, the administrative headaches that are removed from managing that, because it is in this form, and two, it is displayed in such a way to the shareholder that they can relate to, is, it removes all additional costs that a company would need to go through in the marketplace. So this is digital securities, taking an existing security, putting it into an immutable form on a permission-based blockchain that will meet all the regulatory requirements and obviously help the investor. People need to be very careful that this is not tokenization. And I am making that clear reference that it's not the same, because the term tokenization, depending on who you speak with, it has other connotations that have nothing to do with securities law. So when it comes to securities law and it comes to you selling securities of your company to raise money, you are issuing a digital security and it's being put on a permission-based blockchain. So I hope that kind of helps you. I know it's kind of long-winded a little bit, but I think it's important to understand how the two worlds are different, right? And
Yes.
and the other thing, Lily, that a lot of people talk about when it comes to digitization is like, wow, okay, so it's on blockchain, so I can trade. Yes, we are going to get there. But the reality is that I think the real value of having digital securities is, number one, the immutable ownership to that investor. That shareholder, giving them that is, all the trust they need. Number two, for a company, from a risk management point of view, you don't have to, worry about the fact whether you issued the securities properly. All of that is being administered in something that, again, is tracking it, and again, it's immutable, therefore protecting you if there's any disputes in the future. Number three, like any company, you're going to go through a capital activity in the future. It could be, maybe you'll do another capital raise. Maybe you'll go through an M&A exercise, whether you're buying or being acquired. Or number three, you're going to do an IPO, or maybe you're going to do a reverse takeover, RTO. Whichever of these activities you go through, one of the very first things companies have to do is we hire our lawyers to review our books to make sure that everything we've done historically was done correctly. So in other words, you did it already correctly at the beginning. Now you got to pay a lawyer again or somebody to make sure that it is ready for that next activity. So having it on a digital securities format, that will also be removed. So now, of course, the holy grail, secondary market trading. And that is coming. It will make it more efficient. And why does it make it efficient? Because of the information that digital security has that doesn't need to disturb the company on a day-to-day in order to get that information to make sure the trade can occur. So that's the overarching value that we're all getting to. And most people, that's what they often hear first, trading. But we put it as number 4 because it is important, but it's not the primary. So I hope that kind of helps you out and understand, hopefully be able to answer people what the digital securities are and the benefit.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Oscar. Helps so much.
Well, it's a hot topic right now, right?
It is.
And for our Regulation A+ clients, we're automatically putting them on it. How they sell it in the market is totally different. But the important thing is that they understand that nothing's really changed. It's just we're making things more efficient for them, their shareholders, their board of directors, and everybody else that's advising them in the process. So,
right.
So did you have any more questions for me?
You actually answered all my questions perfectly. Thank you so much.
Wow, you got to love that when I can get it right the first time. All right, well, listen.
You did.
Yeah, no, it was good. I mean, look, you're going to run into a lot of different scenarios, so you're going to have a lot of fun out there talking to people firsthand, onboarding them, giving them the walkthrough of our all-in-one platform. And obviously, they're going to be curious because we have so much messaging out there, with our cap table, investor relations, digital securities, the infrastructure of trust. So it's kind of hard for all of us to have that expectation that everybody knows it. But hopefully through these kind of Q&A environments, we can go through them and ask questions that many others will enjoy. So on that note, thank you. Hopefully those who were listening today and you have a question and you want it answered, try to remember this. I'm not an expert. I'm not a guru. I'm purely providing you a hands-on because we're right deep into this market and area. If I don't have the answer, I will tell you right out, right there. Just before we get started, I'll say, oh my goodness, that's it. I don't know this one, but happy to help out. Everyone have a great day. Until next time, we'll be back soon. Take care.